Hi, how are you? I hope you're doing well today. It's Monday. We're rocking and rolling. Online challenges. Are you familiar with an online challenge? That might be a 5 day, 7 day, 14 or 30-day online challenge. People use them to build their email list or build their social media following. Excuse me. And they're very effective if they are executed well. We're going to talk about that today. Just some pre-planning, some things to think about ahead of time before you jump in and find out that you weren't really prepared, and that's a horrible place to be, isn't it? Let's look at 6 questions to answer in order to prepare yourself for your challenge and get the great results that you're hoping for. Hi, I'm Patricia Durgan, the Christian Message Coach, and this is Marketers on a Mission, the live show to help Christian writers and speakers fill in their online marketing gaps. And this is episode number 66, how to pre-plan an online challenge to grow your email list or social media following. So there's lots of different kinds of challenges. Maybe you've seen them, maybe you haven't. They go and come, like a lot of things, trends on online marketing. There are trends, and they had a very years long run that they were very, very popular, and they were very, very effective for a few people. So, for example, there's a list building challenge, an eat better challenge. Whatever it is that you want to call yours, you can do anything you want to. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of questions to ask to validate that. Excuse me. And some people have put on a green smoothie challenge. Some people share recipes. Some people share weight loss tips. Other people share business or marketing or concepts. It's whatever your topic is. That's what you can share about. And really think of an online challenge as an online free resource or lead magnet or opt-in. They're all 3 different ways to say the same thing, where you offer something of quality to new readers and established readers, and you hope that they will want it enough between your reputation already and your compelling headline that they will want it enough to give up one of the 2 pieces of commodity online. One is our email address, and the other is our credit card number. So let's start at the very beginning and just get the email address first, shall we? Let me check and make sure that I'm online. Sometimes I don't know. So the first question is, what is the goal that you're trying to achieve? What is that goal? And put it another way, what's the purpose of a challenge? If you're going to do one, what would your purpose be? Do you want to build your email list, or do you want to build your social media following? And both are viable. They're basically, you create the same amount of content, the same kind of content, the same topics, but there's a different delivery method. That's the key difference between doing something to build your social media following or your email list. And neither are right or wrong. You could do the same challenge twice, at least twice if you wanted to. If you were just kicking around the idea and you wanted to give it a go, if you created it, the content for it, and you put it online, and you wanted to, you chose the first goal of creating your, building your email list, then if you loved it, you could continue doing that if that got all the results that you had hoped for. If it didn't fly as well as you had thought it might be, before you throw it away, before you toss that idea in the trash can, try the other method where the delivery method is online in a closed Facebook group, because you're trying to build your social media following. So this is what we're talking about today. Excuse me. One of the things that I want to mention right up front is that I lean toward nonfiction, helping nonfiction writers and speakers. Neither's right nor wrong. I also can help fiction writers, of course. Fiction writers. The big difference is a non-fiction writer understands that they have a message, whereas their audience understands that they have a message. Whereas a fiction writer, there's a little bit more of a challenge to help your new readers understand that you'll have an overarching spiritual message, and it is encapsulated in each of your various books or your book series. So just a little bit of an extra step there for fiction writers. But the content or the idea of an online challenge is exactly the same, because whether you write Christian fiction or nonfiction, whether you're a speaker and a writer or only one of the two, here's the good news. You have a message that Christ has entrusted to you. Now, whether you reveal that in writing nonfiction books or in writing fiction books, whether you reveal that in, very obviously on your website or your social media, if you're a speaker, you deliver that in your presentations, or if it's very, very sort of not hidden, but sort of bundled in, a little bit low key. You don't have to, none of us have to shout from the rooftops unless Christ has called us to. But we all have a message, and everything that we do, online courses, products, services, fill in the blank, everything that we do stems from that overall message, right? So this is what we can do if you're a fiction writer exclusively and you're considering creating an online challenge, then pull instead of from your book, your fiction book, because people don't have a frame of reference for that typically unless you already have an established audience, and on and on and on. But let's just say you don't, for simplicity, so we can be clear and help those who don't yet even have that, who don't yet have not yet published a book or a book series, but they have a message that they've been gifted. Everyone does. Every Christian does. A message that Christ has entrusted to them to deliver to the people that he has drawn to you and you to them. That's a God thing. That's a God thing. Those are the holy conversations that I reference sometimes, in which there are three participants: you, the other person, and the Holy Spirit. And when you create a challenge or a product or a service, an online course for that group of people, no matter what your methodology is, no matter whether you're fiction or nonfiction, no matter whether you're a speaker or a writer, only one of the two, it's bound to work when all the other factors are in play. The technology is right, and your invitation is good, and people know who you are, because your message is strong and solid. It's in Christ. So we want to decide, are we going to have, well, let me give you some examples on this. If you want to grow your email list, then you would deliver your content that you've created via email, typically, exclusively via email. But it doesn't have to be that way. You could also deliver, there's two other choices. You could also deliver it part email and part online, just in an open forum. You could also deliver it part email and part Facebook group, open or closed Facebook group. I would not suggest just opening it up to an open forum and just putting it, making it part of your social media post, your general social media posts, because the goal is to grow your email list or to grow your social media following. One of those two goals. I'm working on my primary numbers. I'm making progress, but we're still not there yet. So, but if you want to grow your social media following, then you would create an open or a closed Facebook group, and you would require people, and this doesn't have to be egregious, you don't have to be snarky about it, but you would require people to give up their email address in order to join your Facebook group. So you're doing two different things there. In that scenario, you're growing your email list at the same time that you're building your social media following. But then you would deliver your content within the group itself. And that might be via, just you write out a regular post. It could be a video, Facebook Live, like what I'm doing right now. It could be a recorded video, mini training that just lasts 2 to 5 minutes. So there's lots of options. And one of the things that I do is try to give you as broad a spectrum as possible within the limited amount of time that we have together, to help you understand how some of these marketing tools that you may have heard about for years, but wondered, either discounted it completely thinking it was way above your head or your capability, which is absolutely false, or it just seems so daunting, so many different steps. And how can you find out what's the big picture and what are all the steps underneath it? Well, that's what I'm here for, to help you learn those things. So first, we want to choose the purpose for us. What is it that we want to grow? Our email list or our social media following? And then, what's your goal for your audience? Now, this is a trigger point for me because, again, it goes back to my main message that I don't talk about directly here at this point, and that is we need to give our audience measurable results. This is too big a topic for this particular frame, this particular episode. I'm just going to touch on it and move on. But we don't want to just deliver information and hope for the best. We want to, if we're going to do an online challenge or any number of other things, we want to give our audience measurable results. So they couldn't balance their checkbook before they came to you and bought your product or your service or your course or joined your online challenge. And afterwards, they could. They weren't a great parent, and now they have 3 or 5 or 7 practical steps to become a better parent. They weighed more than they wanted to weigh, and afterwards they had a real path, a strategy to weigh less so that they can see that being with you, reading your work, reading your content, absorbing your message, getting to know you, it's more about your personality. It's more than your personality, your character, and your integrity. They want, even though they may not ask for it directly, maybe they don't know how to vocalize their need, but they want practical results that will help them improve their lives in some way, that they would be able to tell a friend, you know, I didn't know how to do X, Y, Z. Then I took this challenge. It was crazy. Now I know how to do X, Y, Z. This is what we're looking for. We don't have to save the world. We don't have to do, teach somebody how to do brain surgery in 7 easy steps. Just answer one question thoroughly and give them a result. Solve a problem thoroughly and give them a result. And tell them up front, which we're not going to even be able to get in touch with it, get into this part of because we're just doing pre-planning right now. But I'm doing a caveat because I get sidetracked and I have so much to tell you that I know can help you. And I want to share all of it at the same time in one 25-minute show. So forgive me when I overload you because that's never my goal, and yet sometimes that's what I do. I apologize for that in advance, from now forever. We want to help our audience not just improve their life in a measurable way and not just deliver information. How long should your challenge run? Well, that's so many variables there. Most of the time, 5 days is the absolute minimum. Most people, but not all people, use a 5-day challenge, 7-day, 14, 21-day challenge, 30-day challenge, which is really stretching it. People lose interest or they get overwhelmed with the lessons. But let's stay where we are and not get off on a rabbit trail again. Most people use an online challenge as a pre-launch gift to their audience. They do want to build their social media following or they do want to build their email list. But the way that they do that is not by announcing up front, I want to be on my email list, so I'm going to give you something free, and I hope that you share all your friends. And then later I'm going to try to sell you something, and I really hope you buy it. No. Some people think that marketing is manipulative or, used car salesman, and it can be. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because marketing can be a wonderful way for you to serve your audience so that they can have a relationship with you long before your book publishes or long before your next online course begins or, a week before. Let's say that you did a 5-day online challenge and you taught on 5 days, you gave a little bit of information moving toward that audience, toward a goal that hopefully has measurable results. They couldn't do something before their 5-day challenge, and they could do it after that 5-day challenge. And it's up to you to know what it is that they want and how to get them there. And you do know what they want. So how long should it run? 5 days is a minimum. 30 days is what I'd really like to do, a 30-day challenge, because I have so much to share. but I'm not sure that I'm going to do that. I'm definitely pre-planning my own challenge. I'm not sure I'm going 30 days out. I'm waffling and praying about that. I might do 21 days, but there's 9 days of content that I'm just giving up. At the same time, I don't want to overload people and overwhelm them and feel that like on day nine, that I just can't do it anymore. I can't keep up, Patricia. And so they drop out. Well, that's not the goal. I don't want just their email address, and neither do you. I want to help them change their lives, and so do you. So too much information defeats our purposes. So how long should your challenge run? 5, 7, 14, 21 days. I really considered 30 days too far out. Even though it's done, I'd consider that too far out. Where can they sign up? Now, this is another question. Do you want to let them sign up on your homepage? So if this is something you want to build your email following, then you would put this on your homepage. And if you want to build your social media following, you would put your opt-in form on your Facebook, social media, Twitter, everything that you do socially. You would want to put it there, make it a link from each social media platform to your opt-in form so that they can find you and know what's happening, know what's going on. Let me check and see if we have any, excuse me, if we have any comments or questions. I like to do that while we're live so that I can answer them live. It's always a little bit better, a little bit more helpful, I find. One comment. Thank you, Bob Osler. I'm really glad that the content is always helpful. That's my goal every day, every day. All right, then we want to create a hashtag. Do you want to? Do you want to create a hashtag? Yes, yes. You want to create a hashtag. Now, you may not have even used one before, but don't worry, they're easy to use. You Google search and go to your various social media platforms. Google is usually thorough enough. And you find out, I've got an idea, you say, and I want to create this challenge, and I want to, excuse me, I want to create a hashtag to coordinate with it. So that when you're on your social media and other people share about your challenge on their social media, all they have to do is share. They can do other things as well, but all they have to do, the minimum, is to share that hashtag. And someone sees that hashtag, and whatever the friend or associate or client has published about it, they can go right to that hashtag and discover you. Now, that's a little bit of work behind the scenes, but that's possible. And it also helps people understand in a 2 or 3 word phrase exactly the core issue. What is the thing? It's not an online challenge. That's a methodology. That's a delivery method. That's what is the thing you're trying to share? 5 pounds in 2 weeks. It's a little wordy. 5 pounds overnight, unrealistic. Like everything else, I'd be glad to help you. And Christ is more than able and willing to help you because he wants to help you get his message out to the people he has gifted you to serve. They are hungry for what you have to offer. You don't have to go out into the community or into the world and hunt and peck one person at a time. If you are clear about who you are and what you do and who you serve, then you show your personality and your integrity and free content. God will see that you and your ideal market, target market, find each other in the crowd, whether the crowd is in real life or online. That's his burden. Your burden is to be prepared and to get ready for the people that he is going to send. And he's been sending them to you for a long, long time. Decades at least, and years at least, and probably decades. So if you go to any of the Google searches and do a Google search and find that someone else is using the hashtag that you're sort of thinking about using, then see what they're using it for, because no one owns a hashtag. So I could use it, and Billy Bob down the street can use it for something totally different. Anybody can use a hashtag. It's just a phrase, and you put the hash mark in front of it. But because it's a hashtag, then there are background scenes, background content that can be created, and people can find you online. So it's just another way to be found online. Question number 5. Do you want to launch your online challenge periodically? So you release it in the spring, fall, winter, and so forth, or every second month, or every time you're going to launch a new book, or fill in the blank. You get to make all these parameters. You get to make all these decisions. Do you want to do that periodically and just have a surge of activity and then sort of goes, dormant, and another surge and it goes dormant? Or do you want to have it evergreen? And writers know that that means that it's always available to be used, for people to learn from and to enjoy. Having a closed Facebook group is a really good thing to have associated with a challenge, whether it's, whichever your goal is, whether it's to build your email list exclusively or your social media following exclusively, because you can cover both in one, and have a coordinating Facebook group. But we have to remember, anybody can tell us to create a Facebook group, but they don't have to do the work that's associated with a Facebook group. That's what we're trying to make sure that we pray ahead of time to determine, is this what God wants me to do? Because it's going to take time of your day, every day, some period of time, for you to not just get the work done, but then after the challenge, hopefully you're using the challenge as a way to connect with your audience and find new readers, new followers. So think of, in that regard, a challenge, an online challenge, as a front door, in the same way that it's the same thing as an opt-in or a lead magnet, but instead of a PDF format or a video series, then you're actually you're creating an online space for these people who have opted in and have learned from this challenge what you want to teach them. Then they have gathered together. You've created a space for them to gather together. And some people have a challenge and they let it go dormant. So they'll have a 5-day challenge, 2 totally different scenarios here. Some people have a 5 or 7 or 14-day challenge, and they use it. It's very active. They have Facebook ads that running to the challenge. They get it out pre-challenge, just like a pre-launch for a book. There's a lot of activity beforehand so that when it kicks off, people are excited and, ready to jump on it, share it with their friends. So, then they use that challenge as a launch to a product launch, an online course, a book, fill in the blank. Other people use it as an ongoing way to serve their clientele, their readers, their followers. So, and there's in between, because we get to decide all of those parameters for ourselves, with the Holy Spirit's help. So, what are you going to launch it periodically, or are you going to have it evergreen? Now, one thing to note before we leave this point is that you please do yourself a favor and prepare all of your content in advance. Please. I'm doing you a big favor, sort of trying to push you a little bit to accept the need to create your content ahead of time, not deliver it ahead of time. You're going to use your sequence that you've chosen every day, 3 times a week, every 5 days a week, not the weekends. But prepare it ahead of time. It is a maddening, frustrating, harrowing experience to be up at midnight or 3 a.m. to prepare the content for the next day's free information, whether it's an email or a video or a post on in a Facebook group. Do yourself a favor. Keep your sanity as long as possible and create the content ahead of time. Now, you will drip it out day by day. Whatever your sequence was that you decided, you tell all your readers all of this ahead of time. Some people, when they do a 30-day launch, it's 30 days, 1, 2, 3, all the way through, and there's no break for a Saturday or Sunday. Excuse me. Some people do a 5-day just so that it's get in, get it done, give them a measurable result, punch it, make it sort of demanding, not in a tone, but in change, information sharing and a measurable change. And then they launch their product. It doesn't even make any difference to some extent, because you're going to know what the Lord wants you to do, or you can practice and discover what it is that He wants you to do. You may create a 30-day challenge and find that people are dropping off after the 9th or the 10th or the 11th day. Well, then that would tell you, they can't handle it. That give them a 14-day challenge. So you would remove, not those people, you'd still give those people what you promised them. But in the future, when you do it again, you would create only 14 days of content. And you could do that any number of ways. You could create new, you could rearrange new content, you could rearrange the content that you have, or you could just cut off after day 14 and drop days 15 through 30. Here's the thing that I mention every once in a while, and it's still true today, and it's going to remain being true. Online marketing, one of the reasons it's so frustrating and potentially mind-blowing is that there are so many ways to do the same thing. There are a few instances where, one item, one task, one project has a series of steps and it doesn't need to be done any other way. Most of those are dealing with technology, as you well know. Most of those are dealing with technology. Excuse me. Let's see. You got a comment? Hi, Patricia. Hi, Janice. So good to see you. So good to see you. I'm glad you're here. We're almost winding up. I just do want to encourage you again. One more time, I'm going to hit it. Prepare your content in advance, or you're going to pray a lot more than you had planned on praying. Just a thought. So your last question to consider as you're in that pre-development stage, this is where we decide all of these questions so that we have, by the time we're finished with these questions, we have a roadmap. We still haven't even created content. We haven't even decided what we're going to do, what our challenge is going to be, but we wanted to find out what's our goal. Let me see if I have it right here. What's the goal that we want to reach? What's the goal that we want to help our audience reach, which is critical? How long should the challenge run? The fourth question we're asking ourselves is, where can they sign up? Do we want to build our email list? Then we would take that and put it on our homepage or some page on our website, preferably the homepage. Then, because we're trying to build a lot of momentum, a lot of interest, and it would be a temporary. Or if we're building our social media, we're trying to decide if we're going that direction, then we want to create a Facebook group. We want to create a hashtag, and we've decided if we want to launch it periodically, or if we want to make it evergreen. And the last question is it possible to make money from an online launch? Absolutely. This is the most effortless way I know to do an online launch. You want to have 2 to 3, maybe up to 5 minutes, but really keep it short on the content. Either it's going to take them 2 to 5 minutes to absorb it, or it's a 2 to 5 minute video. Fill in that in with the parameters that would fit you and your message and your audience. If your audience is busy stay-at-home moms with 3 toddlers under the age of 6, yeah, we need to keep it short, but still effective. If they are retirees, there's the other end of the spectrum, and there's all kinds of in between, all types of people in between. If they're retirees, they don't. The myth is that they have nothing but time, but they want, no matter what our age is, we want to be effective for Christ, and so they have more free time. So you could go up to 5 minutes, and they should have time to absorb and apply your content. So the last question of making money from it, here's how you would do it. So you'd have two invitations to your reader. When someone signs up, they go to the opt-in, they fill in the form, then they immediately come, they get the welcome email that you're going to be sending them. Thanks for joining. We're going to have a great time. This is what you're going to learn. This is, the various pieces of information that you need to give them when they begin to join. Then they can do it for free, and you let them know, you've signed up for the free version. It's going to be delivered for 30 days or 5 days or whatever you've predetermined. And, this is when you can expect it by 10 a.m. every morning or whatever you want to say there, if you even want to touch on that point. But if you would like to, and this is especially applicable, the longer your challenge is. So the one challenge is that the one stumbling block is if it's too long, we lose people. And the same is that the plus on that is we can offer it all in one lump sum. Let's say that's a better way to say it. We can offer access to all of the content in one stroke for $25, $24.99, something like that. So they don't have to take that at all. They don't have to take that offer at all. Some people are hungry and they don't want to wait. Some people have all the time in the world, or something, something like that, and they can make it come into their email in the inbox or join the Facebook group at their leisure, and it's still going to be able to maintain the sequence of information in their brain. And they're not going to get on one hand, you don't want them to get overwhelmed, but you also don't want it to be so sporadic that they participate that they're not really catching anything. So you can make a little bit of money by just you can make a lot of money by charging a little bit of money in the Lord's blessings on your efforts. You create an online challenge that has up to 14, 21 days of content, and you can offer it just as it sits for free, whatever you've decided, every weekday, excuse me, every day for 14 days, and you would describe it accordingly. But then you can also, in that first email welcome, you can let them know, if you just want to fast track this, I can give you access to everything all at one time for only $24.99. Now you just think, 100 people, 500 people, over the years, if you make it evergreen and it's effective and has a great title and it gives measurable results, and you've got a following when you start, or you're building a following. I don't have a big following. We've talked about this before. I don't have a big following, so it's not the perfect fit for me, but I'm not going to get a big following until I do things that give me a big following, that develop a big following. So I will be doing an online challenge. And I will be offering it both the dripped method. That means that whatever my sequence was that I told my readers ahead of time, they can deliver that, and they get it free every time it drops, the next day or the next deadline drops or arrives on the calendar, then they'll get the next lesson in the series. Or they can get all of it for X number of dollars. It's just a little bit, but it doesn't take long. If you have a good following, or the Holy Spirit helps you develop a good following, and they're active and they become loyal because they like you and they like what you talk about, they need to know what you talk about, and they, excuse me, they like the way that you deliver it. Then you give them something of value, you're on the road. You're on the road. You can use this challenge as your main lead opt-in. You can use it periodically and, let it go dormant in your Facebook group. You want to, I started talking about that just before I closed. Let me go back to that and hit that again. I started talking about the people who use it for 5 days. Some people that do a 5-day challenge typically use it as a pre-launch. They're pre-launching an online course or some kind of a product or service. So nobody's aware of that. You don't try to trick them or anything. That's not what you're talking about. But day 1, 2, 3, 4, that's when you deliver the content and you give them something that's measurable, that they can change their life because they were a participant in your challenge. And then the 5th day is where, excuse me, it's typically done this way. The 5th day is where you wrap up the challenge and you offer the product that you were pre-launching without their knowledge, because you were getting them ready. You weren't not trying to manipulate them or trick them. You were trying to get a conversation going about your product or your course or your service. You were trying to gather like-minded people together so that you could serve them long before, in 5 days it's not much time, but you could serve them before you tried to pitch them anything, you tried to offer them anything. Now, the product itself is quality because you created it, right? And you know that it will help them and create measurable change in their life. But some people need a warm-up. So consider an online challenge similar to any other type of lead magnet where you've done something for free, it's high quality, and it gives you the opportunity to collect an email address. So you have one more listener, one more reader, one more viewer, and you also are warming them up for the eventual time when you say, you know what, it might be 6 months down the road, but eventually, at some point in time, you're going to have something to sell, aren't you? And this welcomes them into your space. You help them, you serve them, they like you, they appreciate the value that you bring to the table, and they are not guaranteed to purchase what you offer them, but they are more likely to purchase what you offer them. And you maintain that relationship with them, whether it's in a Facebook group or via email or both. You maintain that So then in 6 months, when you have another product or online course or service, or you want to relaunch the one that you're currently working on. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Let me check one more time and see if we have any questions or comments. No. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Again, this may be beyond your reach today or even beyond your imagination. That's okay. We have to talk about things and sort of get things in our head to know, hey, that could work for me. You probably aren't going to create an online challenge next week. And we can talk about this more and develop this whole process further if everybody's interested in doing that. Let me know. I'd like to know more in the comments, whether it's live or in the replay. I'd like to know more about this. And we can let it die if nobody's interested in it right now. But it will resurface some other time because somebody is going to be interested and they're going to want to know how to do this so that they can reach more people for God's glory. This has been episode number 66, how to pre-plan an online challenge to grow your email list or social media following. Tomorrow, we're going to look at the remaining Christian Writers Conferences, what's remaining available, because a lot of them are gone, but a lot of them are over. But there's still some good ones on the horizon between now and the end of the year. And we're going to also talk, if we have time, we're also going to include how to plan for next year's conferences right now. Just think about it, start the process of praying about it, investigating, researching, asking the questions that you might ask that would be applicable to you so this is the one that's going to be a good fit for me. We're going to talk about that tomorrow right here at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, I'm Patricia Durgan, the Christian Message Coach, and I pray this show helps you spread the good news online. Thanks for being here.